to try to be as timely as we can be. The meeting is being recorded, blah, blah, blah. Hold on, click that. Okay, so here we go. We are going to hop right in. If I can get my screen to work. There we go. Quick look at the agenda today. We are going to start off with our PAC Executive Committee updates. We're going to then go into our leadership committees. We're going to then hear from various administration staff, faculty, and student groups from IMSA. And then, of course, we hope you will all stick around for our speaker series, which will focus on fine arts with Mary Beth McCarthy, Maria Brown, and Joyce Simoniak speaking to us about the fine arts programs at IMSA. So that will be great. I hope you can stick around and listen to that after our regular meeting ends. So we're going to hop right into our updates from PAC President Maria while she's still here. Go ahead, Maria.
Yeah. Thank you, Kyle. So first of all, I wanted to say hello to everybody. Hope you all had a wonderful winter break and are having a good new year so far. So I just wanted to give you some updates. So these past few months, members of our PAC Exec Board have been involved in behind the scenes planning and discussions regarding the upcoming months, especially with the ever-changing parameters that we have to work with. So we've been working on ways to give parents the opportunity to share their questions and concerns, whether it's during the Q&As at our meetings, such as this one, during meetings with parents in specific grade levels. So as you might have seen, the sophomore parents have been meeting with Piyush Swain, and junior parents have been meeting with Kat Kazukas. And also the discussions you guys have been having in the PAC Parents Facebook group. So as questions, concerns come up, we do bring forth these questions and concerns to our liaisons at IMSA, which then are usually addressed at our monthly meetings, such as this. So you will be hearing from some of our liaisons at the end of the meeting. So we do encourage you that if you do have some questions, that you bring them up during these monthly meetings. It's a great way to make those connections and hopefully get your questions answered in a timely manner. And if not, if they don't have the answer today, they're usually really good about looking into it and coming back with more information for you. So we, along with the hardworking committee chairs and all of you volunteers who have helped out in these different committees, we're looking forward to planning and hosting traditional PAC events, hopefully some more towards the end of the year. So we do have Senior Banquet coming up, Teacher Appreciation Week, and Friday Fest. That committee has been doing a wonderful job. They'll be giving you some updates as well, but usually in the spring, we also have the Friday Fest Luau. So more information about that will be coming up. So, and also another thing that I wanted to, keep in everybody's mind is that with this semester, we're also looking forward to the upcoming school year. So in the next few meetings, you'll be hearing more information about the upcoming election. So really do encourage those of you who might be interested in possibly running for a position on the executive board for next year to give that some thought, and feel free to reach out to any of us on the current board if you have any questions as to what's all entailed in that. We'll be happy to let you know and touch base with you in that respect. So also just wanted to say that we continue to be grateful to all of you, all of the parents and the volunteers who continue to help make the PAC run, and also for all of your flexibility in getting things done as things kind of change. So again, with that, I'm going to turn it back to Kyle and look forward to all of you hearing about the updates from our committee chairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Great hearing from you. Let's move on once my computer wakes up here. Oh, here we go. Updates from our PAC treasurer, Jen Mock.
Yeah, good morning. This is Jen, and I'll make this quick. If you'll go to the next slide for me, Kyle. So our income for December, we are generating some income from from senior banquet tickets. That is moving along smoothly. I do encourage everyone who has senior students to RSVP for the senior banquet, even if you do not plan on attending, because those seats will be available for our wait list families who are bringing additional family members to the banquet. So even if you do not plan on attending the senior banquet, please complete the RSVP form so we know that you're not going to be there and we can sell your seat. If you'll go to the next slide for me, Kyle. So really the only outstanding costs that we have remaining for this year are the remaining bus transportation, which is about $24,000, and then our senior banquet fees. The committees can take a look at their line item, and if they need reimbursement, go ahead and send in a reimbursement form so we can get that money to you. And if go to next slide for me, Kyle. And it's an easy way to request a reimbursement. Just click on that QR code there and we'll get you refunded for your expenses. If you'll go to the next slide for me, Kyle. So for December, we had about $73,699 of assets. That includes checking and savings. Our expenses for December were $7,738 and our income was $6,875. We finally had all of our reimbursements for the fiscal year 20 cleared, which was refunds for the year that last year, not this school year. So that is finally cleared the bank, and it looks like we're in pretty good shape for this year. If you'll go to the next slide for me. So the newest updates are there was a short period of time that our 501c3 status was revoked. We did get that reinstated on December 13th. TechSoup reinstated us on January 18th, and therefore our PayPal is now a nonprofit account, which we pay a discounted rate for that fee now. So that's really good news for the PAC. And all of our transactions with PayPal will have a verified check mark on them, showing that we are a certified nonprofit. And that's all the updates I have.
Thank you, Jen. Does anyone have any questions for Jen before we move on? Okay, if anyone does, you can always also put that in the chat and we can circle back to it later. So moving right ahead, we are going to move on to our leadership committees, and we will be starting with the academic committee. So Moju, Gabrielle.
Hi, good morning. This is Moju Faturici. I am the parent of a senior IMSA student, and my co-chair is Gabriela Lima. She's also a parent of senior, and also her older daughter graduated from IMSA. So we're both parents of senior students. I emphasize that because I have an agenda for this. And we have our contact email listed here. So we only have a couple of updates for this meeting. For the academic support, we just wanted to let you know that the spring semester peer tutors have been selected, and there will be a mandatory peer tutor training for them in the next few weeks. Also, that the writing center will be open on Monday for the students. And that's a great source for them to use for their writing projects and assignments. Also wanted to highlight that next Thursday, there is a CCRAW, the Career and College Readiness Assessment test for juniors and seniors. It's in the morning, and this test will measure the performance and growth for their critical thinking and written communications skills. This is a test that they have been taking every year, and when the results come out, you could compare to the previous years to see their growth. But also just wanted to make sure that you kind of remind the students about this and ask them to take this test seriously. This is important for IMSA, and if it's important to IMSA, it's good for the students to do really well on this test. No preparation is needed besides just getting a good night's sleep and having a good breakfast in the morning. But this is important that they take this test seriously and do really well on it. So on the next slide, I just wanted to take a moment and say that now that we're going to the second half of the academic year, we start thinking about the following year and the future of these committees. As I emphasize that Gabriella and I are both seniors of parents of seniors, next year we need somebody to take this over from us. And I just wanted to kind of have a blurb about what it is that we're doing and how we're doing it and why is it important. So as a academic committee, our mission is just, our primary function is just to be a liaison between parents and administration and for any academic concerns. And we meet with Dr. Akwaji Anderson on a monthly basis, and we have agenda items that we share with her, and she has information that she shares with us. Between the two of us, we will either bring the information in terms of slides in these meetings, or convey it back through Facebook, or however we can relay the information back and forth. Some of the information that we shared this year was about the resources that the students have in terms of helping them with their academics, and the academic help resources, and the student, like the tutoring, the writing center, and all of the help sessions that they could tap into. We also put a survey together for the parents, and brought the information forward to the administration. And the next few sessions will be about understanding, okay, what are the concerns and how we're going to address them. And why do we think it's important? Because we're trying to build a team and that relationship between parents and administration. We're here because we want to make sure that we're creating the environment that our students, your students, our students thrive in. And we can do this with open communication and help between both sides of the side. So, and how you can help would be to step up and kind of help us with the next couple of meetings, so that you know how this is done, so that next year when we're not here, somebody can carry this forward. Again, I have our contact information down below, so that if you have any other questions, or if you need any extra information, you can reach out to us, and we'll be happy to provide you any information. Thank you.
Thank you, Moju. Does anyone have any questions for the academic committee before we move on? Okay. Moving on, we will now hear from the Student Life Committee, Ellen and Susan.
Hi, this is Susan. Ellen and I want to wish everyone a happy new year. If you can go to the next slide. Wing parents help fuel exams. I know December feels like it was a long time ago, but during final exams, our wonderful wing parents donated items such as donuts, orange juice, delivered pizzas, cookies, hot chocolate, anything to help the kids kind of get through the exam period and to help provide the study breaks. If you can go to the next slide, please. We also had some non-food projects. 1502A gave out lip balm and set up really cool boards for students to encourage each other, write little encouraging notes to each other, so they could kind of pass by during the day and read those notes of encouragement during the exam period. You can go to the next one, please. Our upcoming plans, we're looking forward to spring and doing some really cool events. Still within parameters, we're not able to go into the facilities, but wing parents have been really creative and been able to pull out some really cool projects. We're going to have a Zoom meeting on Tuesday, February 1st at 8 o'clock, just to brainstorm events for February and April. As always, we're trying to alternate months between Friday Fest and Wing Parents, so the kids always have something cool going on each month. Next slide, please. If you'd like to contact Ellen and I, you can reach out to the student life at imsapac.org. We do have a Facebook page as well, 2021 to 2022 IMSA Wing Parents. And as always, if you're having a hard time understanding the lingo your kids are using, you can follow the link and get a good indoctrination to all the codes IMSA uses. That's all for us. Thank you, guys.
Fantastic. Thank you, Susan. Does anyone have any questions for our Student Life Committee? Okay, again, you can always put those in chat if you think of something later on. Moving on to our Friday Fest Committee.
Hi, everybody. This is Melissa. Can you go to the next slide, please? So last night's Friday Fest was a huge success. We heard from several students who were returning their supply boxes, how there was plenty of extra snacks for students to pick up. later on if they wanted additional snacks from what they were able to receive. They each got about 5, or were able to choose up to about 5 snacks. Thank you so much to everybody who donated, and the student volunteers were amazing once again. If you look on the Facebook page, Carrie posted some pictures today. There's only a couple that were sent to us, but the students looked like they had a great time. As we were setting up to hand out the supply boxes, we heard a group of kids walking by, and one of the boys said, oh yeah, that's right, we have Friday Fest tonight. So that was really encouraging, that they were looking forward to it. So we just thank everybody for all their donations and all their time. Next slide, please. And so our next meeting, or our next Friday Fest, will be on March 11th, and the planning meeting for that will be Tuesday, February 15th at 7 p.m. and the Zoom link is there. And then if you want to mark your calendars for Luau, we're going to be starting to talk about that and how that might look. And that'll be in May. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Let's move on here. We have updates from Senior Banquet Committee. Nisha or Rhoda, are you on the call?
Yes, this is Nisha here. So can you please move to the next slide? So we have sent out invitations to the parents of the seniors. The banquet is on June 3rd. We have booked the Embassy Suites in Naperville. The registration is going pretty strong. We have more than 300 registered right now. So we want those coming. Please do send out your senior pictures, senior students pictures at 2022 photo@imsapac.org. We are receiving those pictures. So please keep those coming. Can you go on the next slide, please? All right, so we do need volunteers to help us with the subcommittee. So we have a couple of volunteers here for registration and gift handling, decoration, slideshow, marketing. We need somebody for marketing, and then we need somebody for transportation. We would have to transport the musicians from IMSA to the venue and then back. So we need somebody for that. We have already ordered the gifts, so that is something to watch out for. So I would recommend the seniors, parents to watch out for more. We are really excited to host this event, so please do keep those registrations coming. We want to ensure that it's a special day for all the seniors. All right, next slide, please. Any questions? Anyone? I do see a question saying, because of liability, can parents transport the musicians from IMSA? Is that a question for PAC? Do you have any anything to say about that?
I know I'm not certain on the policy. That would something we'd probably want to communicate with the administration about, to see you know, what if they have any specific guidance on transportation of the students who are performing.
I missed the begin. Can you ask your question one more time? I missed the beginning of it. It cut out, but I can probably answer your question.
Yes, so the question was, we need to bring the IMSA bus to bring the band kids. Would there be any kind of liability for the parents to transport the musicians from IMSA?
Great question. So as far as utilizing one of our IMSA vehicles, only a staff member is able to use that vehicle. So we would need to have one of our IMSA staff driving that vehicle, or we do have some parents who help out with robotics, or our coaches or assistant coaches for different co-curriculars that we participate in. And so those individuals would be eligible to drive. I'm happy to connect with you after this too, because we may be able to provide some staff assistance for transporting the musicians. We've been able to do that, excuse me, in the past. So I'll follow up with you via email and we'll get that all squared away.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Katie, I have a question. How about the kids volunteer? IMSA bring them too? Used to have 7 to 10 kids volunteering at a senior banquet.
We can do that either way. So we
Okay.
would be able to safely allow, with parent permission, other parents to transport student volunteers earlier in the day to help set up. And we've done that both ways in the past. So I think that would be a great opportunity for perhaps some parent support. And then we may want to have staff help with the musicians, only because if they have, items that they can bring
Instruments.
with
Yeah.
them, it's easier to do that on the bus. So I'm happy to help coordinate with all of you to make that happen.
Thank
One
you.
more question, Katie. Does the hours lend to volunteer hours for IMSA for the students who come in?
Yes, they would be considered internal hours because the service that they are providing would be to the IMSA community, and they would be able to log those towards their graduation requirement.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, anyone? All right, thank you so much.
That's good. Thank you so much, Nisha, Gabby and Rhoda for all that information and questions. See, so that is all of our committees. Does anyone have any follow-up information questions for any of our PAC committees before we move on to hearing from people at IMSA?
I do have a question. Maybe it will be covered in the next hour or so. But there was some mental days that is available for the students. Is it like, can they take it anytime? Will they miss the school time that they have? Or I was a little confused with that. So if somebody can explain, or if it's coming up in the agenda, that is fine too.
I can cover that when we get to the student affairs update, if that would be helpful.
Sounds
Okay,
great.
thank you.
Katie.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on ahead. Let's see here. Next, we are going to hear some updates from the President's office. Dr. Glazer, are you on the call? He might not be on quite yet. Let's see. If Dr. Glazer is not on, Michelle Bemis, are you on?
I am here, yes.
Okay, let's jump to you.
All
And
right.
then we can circle back. So Michelle Bemis is here to talk to us about the Titan to Go program.
Yes. Well, thank you for letting me join your meeting this morning. I want to just give you a little background about myself. My name is Michelle Bemis. I am a senior administrative assistant in the president's office. I do support our strategy officer and also our PMO director. I started at IMSA in October of 2019, so I was there for about 4 months before we all went home. So like many of our seniors, I spent most of my first years at IMSA working out of my office at home. So I understand what everyone's been going through with this remote process. I want to talk to you a little bit about a project we're going to launch on Monday. And I do apologize, there was going to be an announcement email going out yesterday on this and one other program we're launching next week. But as you know, it's been a busy week for us with move-in and 2 testing days and everything that's been going on. So that did get delayed a little bit. So you guys here are the first to hear about Titan to Go. And what this is, it's going to be a resource for the students where they can discreetly request basic hygiene supplies if they need something before they can get home for a weekend home. So what that process is going to be like, there will be an email going out. There will be a Google form link in that email. Once the students open that email, there you go. There's a copy of it there. They can request this. Basically, we're just asking for their name. They can select what items they need. And then they have a spot where they can select if there's anything specific they need, like they have a skin allergy, they need an aluminum-free deodorant, or they have type 3A hair or something that I would need to know. They fill that out, and then they just kind of have a feedback form if they want to suggest anything for future items that we should stock. This is going to be a completely anonymous program. Right now, there are only 2 people on campus who have access to this form. That is me and my colleague, Rachel Force, who's the new executive assistant to Dr. Glazer. We will not share any student information with anybody on campus. I will be the primary person selecting the requests as they come in. and Rachel will be my backup on days that I am not in the office. So the way this will work, the students will select their items here. Once they've selected it, if I receive their request by 8 a.m., this will be Monday through Friday, I will pack their items and get them to them, trying to make it a priority to get to them before midday. So the request will come in, I'll pick their items, they will be put into a plain brown, like your old lunch bags. They'll be sealed with their name, they'll be taken to the mail room, and they'll be, second announcement we have going out, we're starting a package locker program next week. So when the packages come in, the students will be giving a link to their package locker and a code to open the locker, and they can come down and pick it up whenever they want. So at this time, the packages will be taken down, loaded in the locker, they'll get an email, and they can pick it up whenever they need it. We are trying very hard to make this anonymous. We don't want anyone to know that a student's asking for help. There is no need for the need-based scenario for this, and no one has to fill out application. They don't have to be a tier student or anything. If you need a product, we're going to get it to you. All the products we stock at this point are full-size name brand products, because I wouldn't ask a student to use something that I wouldn't use myself. So we have a limited supply because this right now is a pilot program. We're trying to get an understanding of what students need and how often they need it. So we have a limited number of supplies, but we'll replenish those supplies as they come up. And I just want to give a couple quick shout outs to, first off, to Minerva in Student Life. When I developed this program last fall, I reached out to Minerva a couple times to bounce ideas off her and get her feedback on this, because I think she has a really good understanding of the kids' needs. And she was able to help me tweak this a little bit. And I also want to acknowledge that for this semester, the pilot this semester is being funded through a Stephanie Pace Marshall Innovation Grant. So at this time, everything's being purchased through that grant. At the end of the semester, we'll kind of go back and evaluate how it worked and what we need to do to make it better. And then we'll launch it again, hopefully as a full program going into the fall semester. So if anybody has any questions on this, any feedback, I would love to hear from you. One thing I did want to acknowledge, I'm sorry, I missed this. If you look at the list of items here that they can choose from, we do not have feminine hygiene supplies on there. And I want to make sure everyone's aware of this program. The state of Illinois requires state-funded schools to supply feminine hygiene products to all students at no cost. So at this time, any students on campus can get those items either from the women's restrooms, the gender neutral restrooms, or from the health office. So that they can do that there. Everything else they can select through this form. If anybody has any questions, but like I said, the email will be going out hopefully Monday. The link will be there on Monday. If you have questions, I can answer them now, or also you're welcome to email me. I'll be able to answer any questions that you have. The students are not aware of this yet. I will certainly be able to help people before the email goes out. However, they wouldn't be able to select from the list. They'd have to email me directly.
And so this program goes live as soon as the email goes out to the students, Michelle?
Yes, yes.
Fantastic. It sounds like a really helpful program. Does anyone have any questions for Michelle about the Titan to Go program, or how it works, or anything else regarding this program? Someone said thank you for the program. It sounds like a really great thing. Will there be further feedback as far as I know it's all being kept anonymous, but at the same time, will there be updates as to like how widely used it is, or kind of tracking which items are more in demand that could be shared in the future, just in case there's other things that PAC or other groups could do to also support and make sure that things are out there for people?
Yes. What I'm going to be doing, I'm putting together a form that'll go to the students like an email, after about a week after they make a request, just kind of asking for their feedback on it. Did I get them the right product? Was the product helpful? Anything we can do to improve that. And then periodically through the semester, I'll be doing updates and getting some data together to kind of figure out, because right now the challenge in starting this program is we don't know what the need is. We don't know how frequently students are going to ask for products. We don't know how many people are going to request it. So we're trying to get an understanding of that so that we can implement this further in the fall. So I am going to be doing periodic updates to say, you know, for this month, there were so many requests and these were the type of items that were requested, so that we can kind of get some data going, not only to keep funding the program, but also just to make sure that I'm stocking the right items. And I guess the other thing I need everyone to be aware of is that, and I know everyone knows there's supply chain disruptions out there right now. There may be a time where I have, I can't get something to somebody that day simply because it's not in stock. I'm finding some challenges trying to find certain like sensitive skin products, having to go to multiple stores to find something in stock. And it's just, everything's varying right now, but I'm really doing my best to make sure that I'm getting the students what they need.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Any other questions from Michelle? Okay, I did notice. Thank you so much, Michelle, for sharing that information. I do believe that Dr. Glazer is on the call. So we're going to just go back to here for updates from Dr. Glazer.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to join you this morning. One of the important things that, one of the important roles I have is engage the Board of Trustees to think about policy development and also ideas and share ideas that the Academy is currently thinking about as we work to reflect our mission and advance our goals. And so I think sometimes there are questions from the parents about what does the board do, because there's not a lot of direct engagement between parents and the Board of Trustees. So there are meetings that occur, regular board meetings every other month, and then executive board meetings on alternating months, which are essentially planning meetings for the board meetings. So I thought I would just take a little time sharing with you some updates of what's happened at the most recent board meeting, and just give you an outlet for connection to the Board of Trustees. So everyone can attend a board meeting. Lately, they've been virtual for sake of safety reasons in the pandemic. We, every month we post the agenda, and I'll show you how you can access that. So I'm going to share my screen so you have the ability to see the same documents that we share with the board. And I'll go ahead and do that now. And so, no, the host has disabled screen sharing. So if you wouldn't mind, whoever's in charge of that, just to give me that chance to share. And then you'll have a chance to take a look at my desktop. So if you go to search engine and do a query for IMSA board docs, you will see this page right here. And on that page, it just gives you an overview. One of the things that you'll notice very soon is that we've had one board member, or that's on there right now. We had one board member who kind of retired and stepped off. That was Steve Asoya. He was appointed by the state superintendent. So all of our board members are either appointed by the state superintendent or the governor. And I work directly with those respective offices on a weekly basis. So we're able to offer recommendations, but ultimately it's their call. So Steve Asoya was a board member for over 20 years, superintendent of multiple school divisions, most recently Niles Township, and was really an important contributor towards supporting IMSA's progress. So our board members are not the same as what you would think in a traditional local school setting, where they're elected officials who, you know, are advocating for particular platforms, but rather trying to serve the mission, be good stewards of the mission, and making sure that the policies are set in a way and the goals are set in a way and feedback is given to me in a way that the institution continues to make progress. So some of the board members have been on there for 20 years. Some of the board members are alumni. Some of the board members are STEM professionals. Some of them are teachers, you know, so they're relative experts. Some of them are researchers, have specialization in gifted education. So they're specialized individuals that bring something to the table that are able to offer some guidance to support our advancement. So the most recent, Steve Soya, Dr. Soya stepped down at the end of December, and so a new appointed member is Dr. Tina Halliman. She's also a superintendent. I was an appointee by the state superintendent. Dr. Halliman has some connections to IMSA. So she is a superintendent, right, currently with the Speed District in Chicago Heights. And she is also a parent of a IMSA alum from a couple of years ago. So she will bring kind of a lens of a parent view, as well as an expert educator view to the table as we think about kind of our progress. So I just wanted to take a few minutes and share with you what's happened at the latest board meeting, and then you know, I plan to do the same with the faculty. But you have access to all these, so that's why I wanted to share with you. So share my screen with you. So if you click on meetings, and then you can see the latest meeting, then you can see the most recent agenda that was discussed. Okay, so what happens at a board meeting is once it's started, there's a closed session. The closed session usually is in reference to matters that are initially confidential. It could be related to a specific employee that we need to, a sensitive issue that the board needs to be aware of, or a student, something that we wouldn't release publicly because those, you know, are personnel or confidential student matters. We also talk about negotiating matters, you know, the latest updates between the bargaining between the management and the union, the two unions, and you know, our desire is to make progress. And so we provide updates to the board, and they ask questions, and you know, we're trying to be good stewards of making progress and forming agreements with our faculty and RC councils. Then as I slide down the agenda, then there's board business. So board business refers to things that they vote on. And so one is just a Board of Trustees calendar. So you have awareness of when the meetings will be for next year. So if you clicked on that, you'd be able to get that overview. Actually, I don't want to, you could do that on your own, but you could see that if you wanted to attend any of those board meetings, and we're optimistic that those will be in person in the future. Another one is board policies. So you know, during the pandemic, we've kind of put on pause policy reviews, but out of all of our policies, which you can find on board docs, those go through a 3-year rotation of review. And then periodically there may be an interest to offer an update to a policy that's out of rotation. But last year, or when the pandemic began, there was kind of a vote by the Board of Trustees to kind of approve the delay of reviewing policies during the midst of the pandemic. And I think we're at a point where we can update, you know, we can start updating and catching up to speed, if you will. So what you'll see in the next board meetings up until the rest of the calendar year is just kind of some adjustments to existing policies, and that'll come up at every board meeting. Now, those that require, those that have like noticeable changes, rather, you know, substantive changes rather than, you know, minor alterations are brought up for discussion. So the one that was brought up for discussion is associated with student enrollment status. So you can see in this policy, it pertains to, you know, what qualifies to remain enrolled as a student And in particular, we proposed that the cabinet recommended a revision to the enrollment status policy about people who want to come back to the academy. So there's a new section that's been added and approved by the board that's highlighted in red. And that's essentially an opportunity to petition to return. So let's suppose your sophomore year, you decide to leave because you had said, you know, I don't really feel that great about being on campus because of some of the restrictions, being in a pandemic, we're going to go back. And let's say a month later, you regret that decision. Or sometimes, you know, for some 10th graders, they're not ready to transition to being in a remote setting away from their house and just haven't matured to the level where they can be more independent and just decide that IMSA is not for them. Or frankly, that they've, you know, struggled at IMSA and they needed to, for some reason or another, it could be academic or it could be social, emotional, and some other capacity, where they needed additional supports and help to address outside of the work of the academy. And so they decided to, you know, withdraw from the school in a way that later on felt like their needs have been addressed over the duration of the year that they're ready to return. Okay, so we've essentially introduced that that is now permissible. Now, we have been doing that petition to return specifically during the pandemic as an exception to the rule. So now we've kind of added it to the rule. Note though, if someone wants to return, they should anticipate re-enrolling at the place that they left off. So if you, let's say you're a 10th grader and you decide in January that you want to step back and not return to the academy, then if you wanted to petition to return in March, you know, we want to do this before our enrollment period for the next incoming class begins. Then you would have to be willing to repeat 10th grade. It doesn't necessarily mean you will repeat 10th grade. We want to take a look at whatever factors affected you regarding your departure, because if it wasn't for academic reasons, then maybe you would continue on with 11th grade. So the principal or the chief academic officer, who serves in both capacities, myself and the chief student affairs officer, who's currently Katie Berger, would essentially hold a appeal hearing to listen to see if the reasons why the person left had been adequately addressed in order to return. Because our interest is if a student returns, that they would be successful at IMSA. We don't want someone to, you know, come back and still run into some difficulties. We really want them to be successful wherever they are in their school. So you can read more details about that, but I wanted to just update everyone about that adjustment or update to that policy. And so over the next several months, in the next board meetings, we will be providing updates to policies that we've been kind of postponing during the pandemic. There was also a vote for an interim board secretary, who's Rachel Forrest, who's the new executive assistant in the president's office. We're really excited to have her on our team, and she's incredibly helpful and it has been a great addition. And then also employee salary increases. There's the board approved kind of a modest increase to employee salaries that are not part of bargaining units. So those people who are in unions have to negotiate that as part of their contract. I will say, you know, we want that to happen. I want to support salary increases as much as possible. We just have to land on a figure that we can afford. The challenge that I have, or that the academy has as a whole, is that our revenue source is flat, absolutely flat. So the state appropriation funding that we received from Illinois has $0 increase. And so at the same time, we want to honor a salary increase. And so we have to ask ourselves, what is a modest increase that we can kind of manage without having to also respond with a lot of decreases and cuts to other programs or to other staff for that matter. So if you don't receive extra money and all of a sudden you have to pay more money, you have to somehow adjust. And so I think our intent is to support an increase, be modest, and advocate heavy for a larger increase next year. So we work with state legislation and we go to appropriation hearings for budget and express the importance of salary increases to be competitive and to honor the hard work of our colleagues. So it's a tough spot to be in for all of us, because we really want to compensate the colleagues at IMSA for the hard work they do, and we want to do it in a way that isn't going to sink the ship either. So we at least made a modest increase in recognition of that's our intent, and there's no interest in coming out at the end of the year with extra money. We want to spend our money thoughtfully, and we just don't want to have a negative balance sheet. Is my responsibility. Okay, and then not section 9 is the consent agenda. Those are items that usually are voted as a block, so the board votes to approve them. They can obviously discuss them, but they're things that might be minor changes or adjustments. And it does provide an opportunity for discussion, but it's, in consultation with the board chair, they're usually items that, just get voted as a block. And then section 10, in every regular board meeting, we have a deep dive discussion. So a deep dive discussion is a reflection of what are some areas of the academy that we're trying to get better at, and also to be innovative at. And we prioritize equity and excellence. We're in the second year of a 3-year plan, and the board has a policy. And so this school year, we have been very deliberate about creating discussions directly with the board about that reflect equity. So, for example, earlier this year, we had one associated with our admissions practices. And now this last meeting, we had one associated with a scorecard, which are kind of measurable criteria that we use to determine the progress we're made based on different indicators. It could be associated with the diversity of our faculty and staff, the culture at the school as it's seen in the eyes of our students, particularly those who are from culturally, linguistically, and economically diverse backgrounds. And so if you're welcome to go deeper on that, but there's an overview and a presentation that was given to the board really about those criteria and the metrics that we use, the different instruments that we use, and what our aspirations and where our scores are, and links to the different reports. So I won't spend a lot of time on that specific discussion. I just wanted to let you know that here's a place where you can access where we're trying to do some of our innovative thinking and sharing it with the board. And of course, we can engage anyone in the community about this work. But every 2 months, we have a deep dive conversation. So the other conversation that happened with the board, and so these are like item 10 are not, it isn't board business, it's just discussion. The idea is, let's put some ideas out there, what we're thinking about, and then have the board comment on them as we see them as relative subject matter experts in their respective fields. Can they give us feedback to refine our thinking and help make it better? Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be instituted as some kind of policy change. Now with the scorecard, yeah, we want a tool to hold ourselves accountable and to make progress with our equity and excellence goals, okay? The other one is strategy for capital development. So I want to, it's my way of sharing publicly that we're going to pick up the conversation from 2 years ago. So 3 years ago, the state legislation had kind of approved the ability for IMSA to expand its enrollment. We don't really have a lot of space to host more students. And at the same time, we have these residential halls that are far past their lifespan. They're built with kind of construction that's not built to last, or built to be kind of abused by teenagers. They're not like the concrete structures you might see at university dorms or university residence halls, excuse me. They're really kind of like typical housing construction, and similar to an old vehicle. When your old vehicle becomes 20, 30 years old, the cost to maintain them and it becomes just as much, if not more than having to buy a new one. So we're in the same spot with our residence halls. We need new residence halls And we have to account for expansion in the event that we draw students from out of state. We can't draw students from out of state unless we have more space to host them. So I provided an overview in that conversation, and you can read that on your own. That kind of talks about different ways of how we can expand and the sources of revenue, because in some ways we have the revenue from the state as capital, in other ways we don't, and we have to finance it. In order to if we finance it, we have to balance that with any kind of additional revenue from tuition paying students. So there's different options that we're currently exploring, and I'm engaging with my team and a couple of board members with some financial institutions to see what are our options, and then hope to present a report to the board with a recommendation for their approval later this spring so that we can develop. But you notice that like the developmental capacity is going to take a while. You can see here that the earliest that we could start building is opening our doors to external students would be 2024 and more likely 2025. So there's a lot of planning that goes into this, and it's time to revisit those plans now that we're kind of moving toward getting out of a pandemic. Now, we're not completely out of that pandemic. I just want to make a side note. The COVID is surging significantly all over the state of Illinois, all over the country, all over the world with the Omicron variant. We're not immune to that. And so that, you've probably read that I have asked that we moderate our departures from campus on an extremely limited basis for absolutely essential things, because the COVID numbers this last week were the highest that we've had all year. We're still, the good news is we're at 1% or slightly under 1%. So that's much lower than the general population. But for those people who think that their families are vaccinated and boosted and all that they're immune to this, they're not. A whole bunch of our cases are coming in on kids who are vaccinated. And I have experienced that personally. I've got a 5-year-old who's completed her vaccination in December, and she now just tested for COVID, positive for COVID. So it's a very delicate time, and we anticipate that the surge will dissipate by the end of January. It won't go away completely, but based on the projections in the chart that I shared, we do expect that to decline, and so this is really a temporary ask of all families to kind of not spend time with their children until the end of January for the safety of our community. Just sharing the kind of the rest of the what happens at the board meeting. The treasurer gives a report, so if you want to see our financials and all the details around that, you can. Like a quick summary is we do our best to spend every single penny that's given to us by the state in a way that would be thoughtful in service of our mission and our students and our colleagues. And we have to make sure that we don't end up in the red at the end of the year. I provide a report, but it's not just my report, it's a report from all the different members of the leadership cabinet, whether it be from the Center for Teaching and Learning or Student Affairs or the principal's office. I also have an accountability dashboard. It's called Operational Excellence Dashboard. You can see the specific metrics that we use to track our progress associated with our core pillars or goals this year. We're prioritizing well-being, we're prioritizing equity and excellence, and we're prioritizing impact as institutional priorities for the year. And each one of those has kind of like a scorecard or metrics associated with them. So, and we report out our progress and I have a report where I kind of report out our strategies that we're using. So there's a lot of detail that comes into my report. And then there's reports from all different people. You can see your president, Maria Ramos, is there at the meetings, and then the student council president and the alumni liaison, alumni presidents, the IMSA Fund president, they all have different reports and have a chance to share. And then we like to wrap up our meetings sharing some good news around the Academy. Okay, so, I've essentially shared 3 hours of materials in 15 minutes, but I wanted to, the reason why I wanted to do that is one, I want to express that there's, even though we're in a pandemic, there's important goals and priorities and policies that we still want to kind of usher forward in service to our mission and in service to our students and in service to our colleagues. And I want to just express that, you all have the opportunity to attend board meetings that for the Academy. You're not, parents are not participants at the board meetings. They do have an opportunity to speak at the end if they wish to make any remarks. That's happened periodically. But it's really, it's intended to be a conversation between me and the board to give them an update of how we're being good stewards to the mission and how they're holding us accountable and giving us good advice. So I'll stop there. Maria, I don't know to what extent we have questions or if people want to pop them in the chat. I'm happy. It just depends. I want to be respectful of all of your time. So please let me know what you'd like to do.
So if anyone has any questions for Dr. Glazer, you can go ahead and speak up. If you don't, or you can add them to the chat. Sorry, I'm just hopping back on. My computer died while you were talking there. Doesn't look like we have any questions. If anyone has any questions, Dr. Glazer, will you be able to stay on? Will you be staying on the call or will you be hopping off right now?
I'm likely hopping off because I just have some small children at home and I need to help my wife because 2 of them have COVID and 1 of them doesn't. And you can imagine how tricky that is. But
certainly, if anyone has any questions, you can always put them in chat and we can get them to Dr. Glazer. Afterwards, we can send them to him and he can always then be able to provide responses to people. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to explore anything that happens at any of the topics at the board meeting with anyone.
Fantastic. Thank you for that.
Thanks
just
so much.
Relaunching. Let's see here. Oh, and it's not showing my screen. So hold on. Sorry about that, people. Zoom, zoom, zoom. To get my screen to launch again. Share. Okay, one step at a time. And back to slideshow. Okay. Here we go. Back on track. Okay. Thank you for your patience with that minor snafu. We are moving on to updates from the principal's office. Dr. Comfort Kwaji Anderson, are you on the call?
Yes, I sure am.
Fantastic.
Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you on this cold day. I have just a few things to share with you, and then you can ask questions as needed. So I just wanted to let everyone know that we created a hybrid and remote teaching and learning guide for faculty that we're actually implementing right now. And it's also related to you in the sense that, we have students at home, some of them, or we have students who are in their dorm rooms and participating in learning virtually or remotely. So one of the things that we have done is we have created an attendance code for students who are on a hybrid plan. And so the guidelines that we like to follow is, for example, if a student is on hybrid learning, on a hybrid learning plan and is present or accounted for, of course, relative to hybrid learning plan, we mark on the attendance, because this is all new, we put HBL for hybrid learning. Versus in the past, we just put excuse or, an A or tardy and that kind of thing. We thought that it was important for us to incorporate that. Stacy Masden, who is part of the principal's office team and who does attendance, sent communication out to families. She notified families about this code that I'm referring to this past week on Thursday or Friday. So hopefully you all received that. For any new hybrid plans starting this past Thursday and moving forward, this information would be included when Stacy communicates with the students or with the family. So I wanted to make sure I share that with you all. Now, I am in the process of working with our team and of course, Ms. Berger, to develop a student handbook, that student parent hybrid and remote learning handbook, because there's a lot of questions that we get, there's a lot of scenarios. I got questions from some parents who, for example, were wondering if they can just keep the kids at home and they participate in hybrid learning, or kids that, were tested positive, or kids that have some other issue that prevents them from being on campus or from being in class face to face. How do we handle that? So there's a lot of things that we are actually going to think about and incorporate in this handbook. Whatever questions or concerns you have that you share with me today, I'm also going to work with Katie and we'll think about how to incorporate that into this specific handbook that we're going to create for hybrid learning to share with you. I also wanted to mention that session went really, really well last week. We already had some of you who actually participated in sessions, facilitated sessions. Mr. Gazak already sent a survey to you to provide some input regarding your experience, as a facilitator, or things that you observed and things that you want to provide feedback on for us so that we can utilize that to inform what we do next time. So those were my two big things that I wanted to share with you. Are there questions? And Kyle, do you want me to answer those now or wait until later, or what? I'm open to however you would like for us to do it.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions for Dr. Kwaji-Anderson at this time? I know there was a question in the chat, which was to Dr. Glazier, more asking about students having to, not being able to leave while teachers do. I believe he answered that in chat, so I don't think we have to cover that. But does anyone have anything regarding perhaps the remote hybrid handbook that they're working on, or any other questions, for Dr. Kwaji-Anderson? Fantastic. See, you answered so much that no one has any questions apparently at the moment.
Yeah, that's a good sign. All right, I'm here. So if you think of something else later, let me know. I'm just going to mute myself, but I'll be right here.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Kwaji-Anderson. Next, we're going to hear from Dr. Michael Hancock.
Good morning. I think that you all know me as an IMSA alum, charter class member. I've taught English at IMSA for over 20 years now. And I'm also the IMSA Council, the Teachers Union president. I just wanted to give you quick updates on bargaining and also on appropriations hearings, the budget. So first, we have been bargaining, labor has been bargaining with management for almost 2 years now. And finally, there is light at the end of the tunnel. We are very close to reaching agreement on working conditions, which is one of the last remaining proposals on the table. So that's good news. We face, I think, a common challenge as labor and management on the subject of economics, namely raises for teaching and learning staff. So you heard that non-unionized staff at IMSA received modest raises of really about 1% to 2% this year. We have a proposal on the table from December requesting a 6% raise, which at the time was aligned with the increase to the consumer price index. I think there is certainly room for negotiation and compromise there, but labor and management have jointly decided to request a federal mediator for continued bargaining. So we expect that mediator to be formally assigned to us in the near future, and to work with that mediator at the table next month and moving forward. Our priority with raises remains the recruitment and retention of highly qualified faculty at IMSA and supporting DEI initiatives, hiring more diverse faculty. Really, the lack of competitive salaries at IMSA has recently resulted in a lot of especially new teacher turnover, the sunsetting of our Russian program, and difficulty hiring new faculty, which led to, as you know, overloads for many faculty in the fall semester. So we hope to avoid that moving forward. Okay. I suppose the next update with the budget, with the appropriations hearings, is related to what I just said about raises. For the first time, I am going to testify as council president before legislative budget appropriations hearings in Springfield next month. And I anticipate that in tandem with that, we will be asking parents, along with students, staff, and alums to lend IMSA a hand with our budget ask. So we expect, as a council, working hand in hand, I hope, with administration to prepare talking points or a one-sheeter or some kind of letter that you could use to send out to your legislators, asking for a budget increase for IMSA, making the case there. We expect to have that ready probably when you return with your students after the February extended. So please stay tuned for that. And we do, as a council, expect to meet soon with Dr. Glazer and perhaps other members of the administration in an upcoming labor management meeting to hopefully align our messages and game plan when it comes to appropriations. So thanks for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hancock. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Hancock? So you can either put them in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and ask away. Either we have a quiet bunch today, or everyone is just doing a fantastic job providing information.
Wonderful.
So thank you so much, Dr. Hancock. If we do get any questions, they'll probably pop up in chat and we can circle back to you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Kyle.
So let's see, moving on. Moving on to the Student Affairs Office, Katie Berger.
Yes, good morning. It is nice to see many parents and some of my colleagues here this morning providing really robust updates. And let's see if I escape without any questions today. I don't know if that will be the case. It usually isn't. We did send out a department newsletter just yesterday that had a number of updates for all of our students, families, and we also shared that with colleagues. We do have several fun events happening on campus the next couple of weekends that we really wanted to highlight, since we do know that students are being asked to stay on campus, and we want to ensure that They have some opportunities to engage with their peers, to get out of their residence halls, despite the fact that the weather is cold, in the main building. So there are movie viewings and athletic events that students can participate in. And that's really all coming from our Office of Campus Involvement, Athletics, Student Activities, and Leadership and Service. There are also service opportunities the next 2 weekends. We know students have that desire to continue to work on their service learning hours. So if you have a student who has struggled to make adequate progress towards their 200 hours, these next couple weekends would be great opportunities to do that. There was a question earlier related to mental health days. Some information about that is included in the Student Affairs newsletter that was sent out yesterday. And it was also sent out earlier in this week. I believe it was on Wednesday, the 19th. The state of Illinois passed a law that went into effect January 1st, allowing students up to 5 mental health days during a given academic year. And so we did send out an email to notify families that we are going to be instituting that at IMSA, and that for the duration of this academic year, we're going to limit that number to 3 instead of the full up to 5, since we're halfway through the academic year. And it provides some parameters within that. Parents will not necessarily be notified if a student elects to take a mental health day, similarly to the way that we don't pick up the phone and call you if a student requests a counselor excused absence, or what's more commonly known as a stress mod. The code that will be added in PowerSchool is MH. So if your student elects to take a mental health day, you'll see that code MH as their attendance code. You as parents can call and say, hey, my student needs a break today. They're going to utilize the mental health day, or the student is able to go talk to one of our mental health counselors. If our students are engaging in one mental health day, then they're able to do so. We've recommended some ways that they can spend their time to really de-stress. If students are wanting to utilize more than one consecutive mental health day, we are going to ask that they depart campus at that point in time. We feel that we will, of course, provide resources and connect them with some of our supports on campus, as well as make referrals for off campus. And we would want our students at that point in time to be engaging in some conversations with family members, and to really have some more supervision at that point in time if they felt like, from a social, emotional, health, and wellness standpoint, they needed more than one day out of school. That information, again, is included in the email that was sent out. Students will have the opportunity to make up coursework that is missed during a mental health day, because it is considered an excused absence. This is a new practice, and so it is new for our school counselors, our attendance office, our faculty. And so if there are questions that come up, or if perhaps you ask a question of an employee and they say, I'm not so sure, let me find that out for you. It's really just because this is something new, and we would just ask for your flexibility as we continue to implement it, really to benefit our students. Another email that went out yesterday was about smart lockers. And this is something that has come up in the PAC meetings multiple times this academic year. Our students are receiving a number of packages. Amazon is doing some good business with our IMSA community members, and our students are really anxious to get their hands on their packages as quickly as possible. We did extend mailroom hours this year, and we know some students are still saying, hey, I'd love to get my package during the lunch closure hour in the mailroom or after hours. So the smart lockers are available for our students, which will provide a really great way for students at off times, after hours, to be able to access their packages. The email includes information about an app that you can download to your phone. And so we're really hopeful that this is something that streamlines that process and makes it much easier for our students. I do want to provide a reminder that our school nurse Angie, continues to be on leave right now. Nurse Angie is a wonderful resource to our IMSA community, and many of you always want to reach out directly to her, as I do as well. She's a wonderful person. Right now, my ask of you is that when you are reaching out to our health office, please email nurse@imsa.edu as opposed to directly emailing Nurse Angie. Our nurse@imsa.edu email address disseminates your message to all of our nurses. So that would be Nurse Angie, but also Nurse Diana, who is our other full-time nurse, and Nurses Carly and Sarah, who are part-time support for us throughout the academic year, and especially right now when Nurse Angie is out. We also have hired a COVID care assistant. Her name is Deanna Carrier, and she is going to be helping us with coordinating our COVID testing, our vaccination clinics, contact tracing, walk-in COVID testing. So we're really pleased to have an additional team member assisting us, especially at a time when, as Dr. Glazer said, there is a lot of need and focus surrounding COVID. So don't be surprised if you hear from or see emails from Deanna Carrier, a new position that we've added and a wonderful addition to our team. I, much like Michelle, want to give you a sneak peek of some information that will be coming out in the next week or so to all of you. And the first thing is related to what we are calling our BitCare team. Dr. Kwaji Anderson and myself, as well as Willie Mays, who serves as our Director of Campus Safety and Security, have established a team of individuals from around the academy who can really take additional steps to provide a safe and supportive physical and emotional environment for all members of the IMSA community. And this team will be able to provide supports and resources to community members who are concerned for other individuals and provide interventions for students or other community members who are struggling or demonstrating concerning behavior. So in the coming week, you're going to receive an email that provides more context to our BitCare team and also provides a link. So that way, if you have a concern about your student or about another member of the IMSA community, you're able to provide that information and we can make sure that we are following up and providing the right supports and interventions. We also are in the process of hiring an evening activities monitor. As the weather has gotten cold and our students have wanted to spend less time outside, and I don't blame them because I don't like the cold either, they've really asked us if we can extend hours in some key spaces such as in 2 and the IRC. And so we are pleased to be able to hire an evening activities monitor who is going to allow us to extend the hours in those spaces. So come February, we'll have extended hours in those spaces for student use. Looking ahead to February, in addition to Parent Day and the PAC meeting, there are a number of other events happening that I want to draw your attention to. For our athletic program, we are going to have senior night for girls basketball on February 5th and boys basketball on February 15th. Our spring athletics, believe it or not, will begin the week of February 28th. So we are really wrapping up our winter season and looking ahead to spring athletics. February will also feature 2 cultural shows, Lunar New Year and Harambe, and the first extended weekend of the academic year. I know they just got back, but we will have a shortened academic day on Thursday, February 17th. The halls will close at 5 p.m. that day and then reopen on Monday, February 21st at 3 p.m. I continue to be really grateful for your kids and the opportunity to interact with these students on a daily basis. And there's certainly a vibrancy on campus when our students are back. Just yesterday, I had a student in my office who is working on a composting project for the academy. And for myself and for so many of us, it's really these interactions with our students and seeing them innovate and learn and grow that really gives us the energy and builds excitement for us in our work. So I want to thank you all for continuing to share your children with us. As you know, we continue to have open positions, vacant positions in departments including security, facilities, res life, food service. We have many colleagues who are really leaning in and helping out in a variety of different ways. For example, Tuesday morning, when we had COVID testing prior to the beginning of classes, we had team members from departments including admissions, public affairs, the president's office, and 2 student affairs, all conducting COVID testing. So arriving 1 to 2 hours early to work and certainly doing things that are not listed in their job description. And that really is a demonstration and an example of the commitment that we're seeing from our colleagues in doing everything that we can to keep our campus community safe and keep our students on campus. And I really want to highlight that, because if you see someone who's doing a great job or doing extra, please recognize that effort and say thank you. I know that those little emails and those messages, that positive feedback really goes a long way. And especially for our residence life staff right now, who have a really challenging job and who are absolutely trying to keep many balls in the air at a time when we continue to hire for vacant positions. As always, I'm happy to answer any questions that you all might have. And I will be on the call for about 10 more minutes. And so certainly can do that verbally or via chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Does anyone have any questions for Katie Berger?
I did get one question in the chat related to, I'm assuming, the mental health days, related to the ages that are listed. The ages that are listed in the law that was passed by the state of Illinois, it lists up to 17. We at IMSA will honor the mental health days for all of our students. The law itself says to 17, excuse me, but we will implement it for all of our students, including those who are 18 years old.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
Yep. Hey, Kai, can I just add to something that Katie said? This is in relation to, number one, appreciating having the students, the kids on campus. And then the celebration that I want to share is that, as you all know, we did not have some faculty positions filled. And so I am so excited to let you all know that we have 3 new faculty members who started January 10th. We have 2 in math and 1 in history and social sciences. And that is so exciting because we want to be able to better serve our students. And again, thank you for having the students on campus, because it really fills Kitty on my bucket, to tell you the truth, when we see the students. So thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you for that additional update. I'm sure parents will be happy to hear about the new additions. Someone did ask how the general morale of the students and staff is, since we're not on campus and able to see that ourselves. What if you guys, if either of you would be comfortable commenting on that?
Well, when we're talking about 800 different people, you can understand that it is, of course, a mixed bag. I have experienced a lot of my colleagues coming back very refreshed after the winter break. I think everybody kind of needed to step away a little bit and relax and recharge. And so that has been really nice. As Dr. Akwaji Anderson mentioned, we've also been able to add some colleagues, and we have in student affairs as well. And so that brings a level of excitement and, quite honestly, a little bit of relief, right? Because we're not having to ask people to do quite as much. There is certainly still concern over the fact that we have vacancies. There is certainly still a concern over the fact that COVID numbers continue to rise, and some of the mitigation efforts feel like a bit of an inconvenience when we're limiting some of the interactions that students can have, or even that us as colleagues can have. And that's why we're trying to expand some of the spaces that are open. But in general, I would say energy is up based on the rest and the being able to bring in some new colleagues. I think the students are happy to be back and be with one another, but the COVID fatigue is real, and I think that will continue to be something that we face as a challenge.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Thank you so much, Katie. To keep moving, if anyone has additional questions for Katie Berger or for Dr. Comfort Akwaji Anderson, please do put them in the chat, but we're going to keep moving along. I know Julia Husen is on the call, and I know people are often excited to hear from her about the college and academic counseling.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kyle. So I prepared a little bit of slides, and I don't know, did you have a chance to get them from? Okay, perfect.
That's right.
So it's all together, which is great. Sometimes, they go one by one. So let's just go over them really quickly. So there are 2 webinars that are upcoming. The first one is on this next Thursday. And the audience for that webinar should be all junior parents, as we prepare to meet with all of our junior parents for family college conferences. It's really, really important for our junior parents to watch the webinar I delivered in December, College Admission 101, and this upcoming webinar that Sue Spilde will deliver on how to choose a college you can afford. Then on February 2nd, I will offer a webinar for our sophomore and junior parents. So the audience should be pretty large. And by the way, if you are not able to join our webinars, we always post them immediately. I want to say the following day on the CAC website. So my webinar will be all about the logistics of the course selection process that we're beginning during the week of January 24th. And last year was a very odd year. We implemented some things that we usually do during the course selection process, but not all of them. So we're going to come back to our normal way of guiding our students through the course registration process. So I will just go over all of the details. So that webinar is coming on Wednesday. And then the quarterly newsletter I will be sending out of my office probably on Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. When it comes to the meetings and testing, so we are, as I mentioned before, we will be meeting next week, all throughout next week on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with our juniors on Tuesday, Wednesdays on sophomores, and then Thursday again with juniors to go over course selection process. And the meetings are a little bit different. So the juniors meet with their CACs, and so in 4 different groups, where sophomores meet with all of us. So we meet with all sophomores, all 4 CACs will be present, and also faculty will be present representing each discipline. And the faculty always gives an overview of the courses they offer and highlight some courses they would like students to pay more attention. I will send a very, very comprehensive letter to parents, an email to parents on Monday, that will again go over all the logistics of the course registration process, so our parents are on board, because our parents actually play a crucial role in the course selection process. Not unlike in the regular high school where students are just pretty much given a schedule, we actually ask our students which classes they would like to take. And then we ask our students to talk to teachers, then we ask our students to talk to parents. And so when they come and talk to us, the CACs, the process is at the very end of its cycle. So don't miss that letter that I will send out. So all sophomores are registered to use Naviance. So if you are right now listening to me and you don't know what Naviance is, that means probably my email in November that we sent the email to all parents of sophomore students asking them, inviting them to register to use Naviance. Probably that email was lost. So make sure that you reach out either to me directly or to your student's college and academic counselor, and you know who your student CAC is by just looking at PowerSchool, because the name is listed there. Because we would like for all of our sophomore parents to register to use Naviance as well, because Naviances will be utilized the following year when the students now become juniors and they start the college selection and college application process. So we haven't, my very first meeting, the Family College Conference is scheduled for this Monday, coming Monday. I think it's at 3:30. So we are starting to meet with all of our juniors, families, and please reach out to your student's CAC to schedule a meeting directly with your student's CAC. All parents are required to submit a parent questionnaire. The due date for that parent questionnaire was January 15th. So if you missed the due date for any reason, please reach out again to your student's CAC and make sure that your student CAC knows when the parent questionnaire is coming, because we really cannot meet with your student without your input, and also without the documents that our students were also were supposed to submit, and many of them did by January 15th. We ask that one parent is present for the Family College Conference. We're flexible to accommodating your traveling schedule. So if it makes sense for you to be present on Zoom, clearly we will accommodate it. However, if you can travel and be present at IMSA in person, we would appreciate that too. We spent the whole entire last year on Zoom meeting with all of our juniors back then, students and families, and we sort of see the results of it now, where our students are not as diligent with their college application process, and our parents are really, really, really removed from it, which never happened before. Our parents were always very engaged in the process. So the very final segment here on this slide, as you can see, it's all about our seniors. We actually send all the mid-years on Friday. So I will send an email on Monday to senior students and senior parents, letting them know that happened. And the mid-year report is, what it means by mid-year report is that we send every single student's first semester grades to all common application schools. It's a kind of a procedure that we need to follow. So it's not us doing arbitrarily. That's what colleges ask. We also send first semester grades to MIT. So MIT does not utilize common application to Georgetown University and then military academies. So our early numbers are at the bottom of the slide. As you can see, we had 38 students who applied early decision, 9 were admitted. And I also gave you numbers from last year for you to compare. And then 13 students applied to colleges under early action single choice plan. None of them were admitted, although many of them were deferred. And then last year, 1 was admitted. So let me pause right now and give a little bit of, make small comment, short comments about the admission cycle that I see unfolding right now. So there are 2 things for you to keep in mind. First of all, those are just only early numbers, so they will clearly change when the regular numbers will come in. Majority of our students will clearly only 38 and 13 applied to early decision and early action single choice schools. We have plenty of students who applied early action as well, but overall students apply to colleges and universities under regular decision due dates, majority of our students. So I will give you a really, really in-depth overview of the college admission process for the class of 2022 during the May PAC. So right now, what it looks like our numbers are does not look. I mean, the reality is our numbers are lower clearly than last year. There are 2 contributing factors to that. Number one, due to the fact that many colleges suspended the SAT testing, meant that in the nation as a whole, and this also applies to IMSA, but in the nation as a whole, colleges were overwhelmed with the number of applications. So I've been doing my job since 2003. I've never seen so many deferred students during early round. So usually when a student applies early decision, usually the student is either admitted or denied, and seldom is a student deferred. Right now, we're seeing deferrals like from UPenns, which never ever happened before. We see deferrals from Stanford University, and then happens maybe once every 3 years when an early action student would be deferred. So that means that colleges are so overwhelmed with early numbers, they want to make sure they leave enough space in their incoming freshman class for the regular students. So they want to see what the regular pool looks like. So they're deferring early students just to see what the whole pool is going to look like on January 1st. Number one. Well, so when it comes to IMSA students, we also see it, every day. So this is January, what is it, 21st or 22nd already. We still have students who are coming to our office, adding colleges to their list. I can't even remember a day when I added a college to a student list in January. I just don't remember that. I think all of our ads were always done by November. So we have students who are still altering their list. I just ran a little report on Friday toward the end of the day. We have 3 students who applied to 34 schools, 34 colleges. We have 27 students who applied to 20 plus colleges. So the number is between 20 and 34. So it's not only that the numbers are through the roof in the nation, our own students are feeding the same fires. So in May, when I will give you the final numbers, I think our numbers for Northwestern this year is like 70. I mean, I just don't remember those numbers, ever seeing those numbers. So our students are applying in great numbers. However, the freshman class of each university did not grow exponentially. So it's still the same freshman class of, let's say, 1,200 students. So if you have everybody in the nation apply, and then from IMSA, that clearly is the same kind of problem that we're having. So that's pretty much the reality this year, and national reality. I received a small email, a short email from a Colgate College. I don't know if any of you know, it's a selective college on the East Coast, a normal selective college. Their number of applications increased by 104%. I mean, it's just unreal, absolutely unreal. So what I would like to end my comments, I would like for all of us to just kind of, let's just wait and see what happens with the regular round. Like I said, we've never had so many deferred students from the early round. So let's see what the final result will be. But right now it looks like everybody and their cat and a dog and a younger brother who's only 7 are still applying to colleges. So the numbers are just literally through the roof. So that's it. Kyle, are there any questions that
someone was asking, could you define those terms, restricted early access, early decision, and deferred?
Yes. So my language is really, I forget, my language is always geared to senior parents because I'm thinking only senior parents are listening to me. So early decision. So private colleges and universities have an early decision due date, which is usually November 1, which means if a student is admitted under early decision due date, student absolutely must attend that school. So there's no more paddling back and saying, I'm sorry, I changed my mind. So 9 of our students already know where they will be going to college because they cannot paddle back anymore. Early action single choice, a small number of colleges fall under the category. So it's Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, University of Notre Dame. So those colleges tell students, if you apply to us early by November 1, if you're admitted, you don't have to attend. However, you may not apply early anywhere else on November 1, anywhere else meaning private institutions. So let's say a student who applied, let's say early action single choice on November 1 to Stanford cannot submit an early action application to University of Chicago or Caltech or MIT or Case Western Reserve. Student cannot do that. Did I explain it well enough to the listener who asked?
Yes, and then they were also wondering what deferred meant.
Say it again.
What deferred means?
Oh, deferred means student file will be read again during the regular round, which means decision was not made. So usually early students are either denied, admitted. Like I said, very few of them were ever deferred. Right now, we're seeing majority of our students being deferred.
Do you think that some of the issue with IMSA students in particular could be due to University of Illinois not notifying students as early as they have in past years?
Okay, so let's talk about that. I'm glad somebody asked that question. University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign went to February notification in 2019, way before pandemic. So February notification has nothing to do with pandemic. Okay, so that was pre-pandemic, because they realized that, well, they didn't realize, but they just wanted to make sure that everybody in Illinois had an equal shot at being admitted. So they went with one due date, and everybody here is in February. So, so in the past, it was kind of nice when they notified our students in December, so our students knew, and then, you know, they kind of went home sleeping well. But the February notification has nothing to do with pandemic. Okay. Now, there is some truth to what the listener, to what one of the parent who wrote that note says. So since our students don't hear from U of I in December, but it hasn't happened for the last, what, 4 years? So they feel insecure, so they, you know, they apply to Michigan State or Iowa State or wherever. There's some truth to it, but not much. We're still, our numbers to Purdue are still through the roof, and our numbers to, you know, Michigan State is through the roof this year, this particular year.
Thank you very much.
The UIUC notification date this year is February 25th. I just spoke with the dean on Friday, actually, and he told me that. So I said, okay, how are my 168 seniors looking up in your sea of 15,000 applications? They've never received 15,000 applications in their lives. He said they're looking pretty good, so I don't see any changes. Computer science clearly still will be the most competitive major, but it always was. So no news there.
Someone was also asking about what kind of money or scholarships are IMSA students typically getting or getting this year?
So this is a much more longer conversation. So and really, I don't want to take this time to answer this question, simply because colleges define scholarships differently. Some of them define under word scholarship, they really mean financial aid. So when a student comes to us and tells us that they receive a 20,000 presidential scholarship from Bradley University, I'm just making this as an example, there's a possibility that that 20,000 is based on the student FAFSA rather than on the student merit. So we do not engage with our students in any conversations when it comes to financial aid or scholarship, simply because there's so much confusion on college's part. What is a scholarship? What is financial aid? So if your student is clearly eligible for financial aid, then how highly selective colleges and universities will give your student financial aid. They sometimes call scholarship.
Okay, a couple other questions came in. One, are midterm grades being sent also, I assume, to for deferred students? Those are also
for every single, yes, for every single common application, yes, to every single common application. So if a student was deferred, let's say I have a student, I worked with her in my office on Friday. So she applied early decision to Northwestern, she was deferred, yes. So every single student who was deferred at Northwestern will receive, Northwestern will receive the first semester grades. Yes, yes.
Okay. And then the other question was, do the CACs have and are able to provide to parents and students a list of like all the schools that have a direct path to med school where you don't have to take the MCAT if you're, because some schools have those special programs?
Well, so almost, well, yeah, yes and no. I mean, clearly we will talk with you if your student is interested in pursuing a direct path, medical admission. We will talk to you. However, many colleges still will require you to take MCATs, like University of Illinois in Chicago would be a good example. We have lots of students who apply for their GPP program. Well, you still need to take the MCATs at the end of your 4th year. The threshold is very, small comparison to the regular students, but you still have to do it. So the taking MCAT sometimes comes with the territory, even if you are on a direct medical path. But we will discuss all those nuances with you when we'll meet with every family for the Family College Conference.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Julia, for your time.
Of course. Thank you so much, Kyle. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for your support of our work. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And now we're going to move on. Is Gerardo Paramo from Campus Activity Board on the call today?
Yeah, I am here.
Perfect.
All right. Good morning, everybody. So if you don't know me, I'm Gerardo Paramo. I'm a senior and I'm the Campus Activities Board Director. So we take care of a lot of the events that we have on campus. So I wanted to start off by talking about our Winter Wonder Week, which we did just before finals week. It was amazing. We did a lot of de-stress events, a lot of time for students to do crafts and just get involved without any pressure and kind of just take some time away from studying for finals and kind of just have some fun. So that went really well. And for now, going forward, we're going to be focusing on Clash of the Halls, which is similar to our homecoming week, the competitive events where students have a month to prep for pep rally and some other activities. Except this time it's going to be between the different halls from 01 to 07, and it's truly the test to see who is the best hall. So there'll be the pep rally, the game shows, and some other activities for students to complete in. And we'll introduce Clash this year on January 31st with a presentation on the rules and etiquette for Clash, as well as some restrictions on Clash and any service hour restrictions that students will need to meet. And then we'll officially kick off Clash on February 4th with the color reveal for each hall. So each hall will be associated with one color, which they'll base their theme around. And then Clash week will start on March 7th with our pep rally being that Thursday. And so that's all I really have to share for now. So I hope your students are just as excited as I am and the rest of CAB are for Clash of the Halls.
Thank you so much. I do have a question. Are any of the activities for Clash going to be broadcast, streamed, or done in another way that parents will be able to observe or see or learn about it?
So we always record all the events. We have the ISP, which is our IMSA Students Production Team. We have them record and take videos at a lot of the events, but I don't think any of them will be live streamed. We will have videos taken for like pep rally. We will have a full video for that. And for our game show, we will also have video of that. And for the hall movies, so each hall will make a short movie to incorporate their theme. We will share those on the IMSA Student Productions Facebook page, and parents can see that from there.
Perfect, thank you. Does anyone else have additional questions for Gerardo? Yeah, well, thank you so much for that. Moving ahead here. We do have some, Mia was not able to be on the call today, to my understanding, but we do have some updates from the resident counselors, which I will review right here where they're up on the screen. They want to thank all the families who have made some donations, including some that made some donations over break that have been, really helping make the halls great for the students. They really want to remind everybody to talk to your students about doing what they are allowed to do, not doing what they aren't allowed to do. Be safe, but and be safe both at home and when they are at school, because as Dr. Glazer mentioned in his note in the chat, that a lot of the cases that we're getting seem to be things that are spread at home, and so when students do go home, that they still need to be careful. Reminding parents to look at the blogs or other information that they send out each month, so that you are aware of what's going on in the residence halls. And of course, finally, to reach out to them, with any questions, concerns, or ideas. That the counselors really are great, and look forward to working with parents, to come up with ideas and come up with better things and fun things for the students to do. So that was just the updates from the residence counselors. Finally, we're coming up on the end here. We're running a little bit over time, so I'll try to be fast. We are inviting everyone to make sure that you're really part of the pack, which means, really looking at our website. Jen and others have been really working on, and our tech team have been really working on getting our website up and running it better than ever. So please do visit the website. It's got a great calendar showing everything that's going on. You can also access from there or from our YouTube page, the recordings of all slide. On the pack page, you can get both the recordings and the slide decks from these presentations. On our YouTube page, you can just see the recordings. So make sure to check those out. You can also, from our page, donate to the pack. If you want to donate to the pack, please do make sure that you specify that you want that money to go to the pack if that's your intention, because you donate by making a donation to the IMSA fund. And so if you want to go to the pack, you have to specify, otherwise it just goes into their general fund, which is still very helpful, but not as directly helpful to pack. Our upcoming meeting dates, our next meeting date will be on February 5th. That is Parent Day. So we will be on Zoom at 8 a.m. before Parent Day, which starts at 9 a.m. on Zoom. And then those are our other meeting dates that are coming up this year. Calendar events, you can always access, here. Again, links, as Dr. Glazer went over the Board of Trustees information. These are also the links to those information, so you can always access that through the slide deck if you can't remember how to get to it. If you want to contact PAC, if you have any questions, there's our email address that goes to the executive committee, and then just our website, YouTube channel links right there. Any questions or comments before we move on to our speaker series? Well, thank you all so much for joining our main meeting, and we are going to move directly into our speaker series, which is going to focus on the fine arts at IMSA with Mary Beth McCarthy, Maria Brown, and Joyce Simoniak. Are you all on the call?
Yes, we are.
Perfect. I can get the slides. I can advance as you direct.
Terrific. Thank you so much. First of all, we just want to say thank you to everyone for having us today. We're really excited to come in and talk about the fine arts. And I just wanted to say also a special thank you to all of you that stopped by our first collaborative in-person concert on December 17th, which incorporated choral music, visual arts, and instrumental music. We really had a great time and we had a wonderful crowd. So thank you so much, parents, for your support. We just wanted to talk to you a little bit today, just explain a little bit more about the department. We get a lot of questions, and hopefully this will help to answer some questions, and I know we can answer some questions at the end as well. So we need the next slide, please. So as you can see, I am the instrumental music director. I'm Mary Beth McCarthy, and I'm responsible for the bands and orchestras. And basically we have two bands. We have a wind ensemble and a concert band. And concert band is for the less experienced students, and wind ensemble is for our high level students. We have two orchestras. We have a chamber strings and a string orchestra. Both orchestras are made up of purely string instruments. And our string orchestra is a less experienced orchestra, with our chamber strings being the very advanced group. We take the top members of our wind ensemble and our chamber strings, and we combine them to make a symphony orchestra. And that's how we get our symphony. And our symphony is typically about 90 students. Next slide, please. So here's our instrumental overview, a little bit of which I just spoke to you about. We have two bands, two orchestras, and a symphony. We also have some additional groups you may not be aware of. We have strolling strings, which performed for public concert venues, such as every year we go to a different museum. It's great because we're actually invited to these museums now. The Museum of Science and Industry, where we've often played for the Holiday Around the World exhibit. The Field Museum, we usually play right under the elephants, and the students are able to get free tours of the museum that day. The Adler Planetarium. This year we were invited to be the prelude music at the Paramount Arts Center right here in Aurora. We also like to do service opportunities with the Strolling Strings. We're a little bit smaller group, usually about 30 members. And so therefore we can go to smaller venues and perform, like Mercy Hospital and Edwards Hospital. And typically what the hospitals will do is they'll station us somewhere in a lobby area, and then they will pipe our music throughout the hospital in the proper places where that music is available. And we also go to assisted living and memory care facilities. And then our band, we do the pep band. As you know, we don't have a marching band and we don't have a football team, but we still like to support our sports department, our athletic department, by having an IMSA pep band. In fact, we just played a game on Thursday night. And just so you know, Strolling Strings also includes our wind instruments. Any students that have put together an ensemble or a solo are often taken with us on our road trips. Next slide, please. We have 4 concerts a year. In the fall, we have what we call our theme concert. You know, typically we'll do a different theme every year. For example, one year, a couple of years, every 4 years or so, we do a Halloween concert. We have a lot of fun with that. In front of the stage, where one would normally have a pit orchestra, we kind of make a cemetery, and we put out some different kinds of tombs, and all the tombs are marked with composers' names. And we also have caskets, and often those caskets are filled with our students that want to pretend they're skeletons. So we have a lot of fun with that. And at the fall concert, we also collaborate with the visual arts department, and Miss Simoniak is amazing with her students, and they decorate the auditorium. And we also use it as a fundraiser for a worthy cause in the area. Our holiday concert, and that's the one that many of you attended, is our winter concert, and it's called Sleigh Ride Around the World. And as many of you know, we have a lot of different cultures represented at IMSA. So I don't want to just do a holiday concert that's representative of the Christian tradition. I want to do a concert that incorporates as many different traditions as possible. So we do a sleigh ride around the world, featuring Santa Claus kind of riding around the world and stopping in different countries. So every year we try to go to different countries and have different music represented. We also pull in authentic instruments when available. Then in early spring, we have a pop concert. And sadly, I'm sure many of you have heard, Stephen Sondheim, the prolific Broadway composer, passed away not long ago. Due to that, we have decided to make the pop concert this year a Broadway concert. We're going to be doing several tributes to Stephen Sondheim. And in addition, we will be doing, of course, other Broadway music. So we hope you can make it. That's going to be April 1st, just putting in a shameless plug. And then our late spring concert is our senior spotlight concert. And people often get confused. They say, well, if it's a senior concert, is it just seniors? But indeed, it's everyone. It just features our seniors. Seniors are allowed to make a composition, and we debut that. In fact, we're working on composition right now in class. They also can play a solo with the orchestra or with the band or with the symphony. They also have the opportunity to work with me and then conduct a piece. So we try to give them a lot of opportunities to really shine and show off a little bit at that concert. We also attend contests and competitions. People often say to me, well, you're in a math and science school, you don't have any music there, or you certainly don't attend the normal contests and compositions that students would get to attend at their home school. But indeed we do. We go to the ILMEA district and state music festivals. And indeed, I would love to just share with you that we are so excited this year. We have received the good news that 9 of our students made it into the State Music Festival. And that is huge, big deal, remarkable, because many schools that have larger student populations, say 2,000 to 4,000 students, did not receive that good fortune. So we are very, very proud of our students and all of their hard work. And then we also attend the IHSA Solo Ensemble Contest. Next slide, please. So if a student participates in instrumental music, parents often say to me, well, are there any social events? Are there any perks? What else do the students get to do if they participate? Well, one of the things I like to do for equity and excellence is we have private lesson teachers that come to IMSA, but during, as you see, a couple of segments down there, we have master classes. So not only do those private lesson teachers come to campus and teach the students that want to have private lessons, but some students say they can't take private lessons. So I've contracted the masterclass teachers to come into my classes several times a quarter and to work with each section. So in other words, the clarinet section, the flute section, the violin section, the cello section, and to work with them individually on their level, with their levels of expertise, so that everyone has an opportunity to experience an expert in their particular instrument. So those teachers come to campus. So if you would like one of your students to study with a teacher that comes to campus, what you would do is you would contact that teacher and set that up. Right now, because it's COVID, right, and the pandemic, we do not have teachers coming into campus. What we do is we use those teachers on Zoom. And every single teacher has been fingerprinted and their references have been checked and rechecked. So we know that they're very good teachers. We have teachers that have hailed from the Chicago Symphony and from other symphonies in the area. We have people that are from major jazz bands downtown. So we have some very, very good teachers on staff. We also have instrument technicians and repairmen. And I know many of you live long distances away. And if you're in Carbondale or you're in Rockford or East St. Louis, you're not going to be able to come to school, say your student's bridge breaks on the violin, or they just need some new reeds for their wind instrument. So what we've done is we've hired instrumental technicians and repairmen that will come to campus. They're almost like a house call doctor. And what they do is they pick up the student's instrument and then they take it home. And just like a car repairman, they will call you with an estimate. And then you get to make the decision. Well, this sounds like a good deal to me. I think I'm going to go with this guy. He knows what he's doing. Or you can say, wait a minute, I have a contract with my local music store and I don't want to not make that null and void. So I will go ahead and just pick up my student's instrument and take it home to that store. But what we've tried to do in music and in visual arts is we've tried to make things as user-friendly as possible for the parents, because we know you're not available to be on campus at all times. So, and I mentioned we have master classes and we also have clinics. This year we've had a practicing clinic and a bowing clinic and a composition clinic. And we also had a technique clinic. So we will continue to have those clinics. We have social events. We have an award ceremony at the end of the year. We, when we are able to be in person and COVID is not raging, we do have receptions after the concert. I think it's very important for students to be able to celebrate and parents to be able to meet each other and meet their students' friends. Typically, we have pizza nights and cookie parties. And then if in Strolling Strings, we always have a big pie night. And the cookie parties are usually for our pep band. So we try to do unique things for each group, and we really have a lot of fun. Next slide, please. Now I'd like to introduce our wonderful choir director, Maria Barnhill.
Hi, everyone. Like Mary Beth said, thank you so much for having us today. We're so excited to be here and to share a little bit about our program. As she said, I am the choir director, and currently we do have two curricular choirs, the chamber choir, which is an auditioned group. So it's a little bit more of the advanced group. Typically these students will have taken years of choir before. Typically they know how to read music at a more advanced level, and some of them have even taken private lessons before, so they're just a little bit more experienced. And then we have our concert choir, which is filled with students who don't have to audition. They can be at any level. Typically they're either beginners or all the way into intermediate level as well. So it just depends, but it's a non-audition group, and it's a lot of fun. So next slide, please. So kind of going along with what Mary Beth said, our concerts are 4 times a year as well. We do share one concert. Our Sleigh Ride Around the World concert is shared between the choir and the bands and orchestras. It was a lot of fun this year. The kids had a blast with that. Our fall concert typically doesn't necessarily have a theme. I try to build my fall concert more around the skill level of the students and kind of cater music to them that will help build their skills wherever they're at fundamentally. So music kind of gets picked based on what skill levels the students are coming in with for that concert. And then our pop concert is actually coming up in March. And our last concert is also a senior spotlight. Also, I think this year we're doing a Broadway theme, so I'm pretty excited about that. The students are pretty excited too. And we are planning on working a little bit with the Drama Club for that one as well. So it won't be a musical, but it'll be kind of a review of Broadway music, and hopefully some other elements will be in there as well. Our choir accompanist comes in and works with us twice a week. She is also very proficient as a piano instructor. So we offer lessons to whoever is interested, and that doesn't have to just be in the choir program. That can be not even in the music program. Any student who would like to take lessons is welcome. We unfortunately lost our accompanist from last semester, and so I'm very close to securing a new one for this semester. I'm very excited about that, but we're very hopeful. And then for our competitions, it's pretty much the same things. I don't want to repeat everything that Mary Beth said, but we had 4 choir students make it to District ILMEA this year, and out of our pretty small program right now, that's a pretty big deal. And one of them ended up making it to All-State Choir as well. So we're very, very proud of him. And then for IHSA solo and ensemble contest, the students are currently picking music right now, preparing to sing solos and small groups. We talk a lot about just getting just a little bit out of your comfort zone and trying to grow not only as a musician, but as a person. So the students are pretty excited to start working on their solo and small group music for that. And then typically we do have a private lesson teacher that comes to campus, but again, right now everything's virtual. I actually just secured a private lesson teacher for voice, and she is a professional opera singer. She's incredible. So she just came into our room yesterday over Zoom, actually, to talk to our students and introduce herself and to actually sing a little bit. So the students were very, very excited to hear that as well. Next slide. And then in addition to choir, I also teach our music theory and music appreciation courses. Music theory tends to go over the fundamentals of notation, analysis, and composition. We do move pretty quickly in that class. It's I would say as close to an AP class that you could get without actually being an AP class. So the students, take on the challenge of learning all the ins and outs of what makes a music composition work. And then for music appreciation, it's more about understanding the musical concepts from different time periods and different styles. So it involves a lot of listening. Just a variety of music and compositions are introduced, different composers, different musical ideas. It's more of a broad spectrum of what makes up music as a whole instead of the fine details of music theory. So those are the other classes I teach. Next slide, please. And now I will introduce our wonderful art teacher, Joyce Moniak. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for allowing us to come into your meeting to talk about our different programs. I'm thanking you ahead of time just in case I don't get an opportunity at the end. So we really appreciate your time and allowing us to do this. So in visual arts, we offer several different courses. We start with digital photography that usually runs twice every semester, and it's a double mod class. In that class, every student gets their own camera that the school supplies them with. They are solely responsible for that camera. We end up having some issues with it. They have a tendency to like to leave them in the cubbies. And I've already warned them, if they leave them in the cubbies, they may get picked up by either faculty or staff or security and get turned in. So don't panic right away. We encourage them not to leave them in the cubbies. We also offer scientific illustration. What that class is it's teaching your students how to draw things when they have to present things in science. We start out with some leaves that we create, then we move into doing some bisections of plants. We don't use any animal-based. We do use bugs, but they are actually encased in plastic. So the students don't have to worry about that, although some of them are kind of a little creeped out when they have to pick a bug out of a box.
Politics, over religion, over beliefs.
We also use sea life. That too is encased. A lot of the sea life we use might be crabs or starfish, shells. We actually have a couple I guess squid that are encased, so none of these things are real, and we're not dissecting or bisecting any of those. We just bisect plants. That's all we really do in that class. And then they learn different mediums in which to draw. The one that you're seeing on screen now is pen and ink. So we try pen and ink, we do colored pencil, we do watercolors, and in some cases we'll actually do acrylic depending on the skill level of that student. We also have a 3D design class, and that is actually teaching students how to create models. We start with all different kinds of fun supplies. Right now, the class is in session this semester, and we are starting out by doing box design. So each student received a paper mache box, and that is the foundation for their design. From this point, they have to kind of move forward in that. They also end up getting, and I'm sorry, parents, I hate to say this, but we give them Play-Doh, because when they're creating a 3D design, they need to be able to not only visually do it in a 2D, but then the Play-Doh helps them develop the 3D design. They have to keep their Play-Doh clean and dry the whole time, because they only get one can, and that will help them to actually go ahead and visualize something in a 3D format. So next slide, please. We offer observational drawing, and that is exactly what it is. Students are learning how to draw from observation. We start out with very, very simple basics. We are currently working on a perspective study and how to draw things in perfect perspective. And students who have never drew actually love it. They've learned how this week to draw boxes in perfect 1 and 2 and 3-point perspective. So they're going to be coming home with a pile of box drawings, but that's where we start. And then we learn how to break things down independently. Everything you see has basic shapes to it. And that's what they're learning in observational drawing. That's where we start. We then move into doing shading. Different types of materials are also being used. We start with charcoal, then we move into graphite, and then we move into color pencil, and then we'll actually move into watercolor if they want to. They don't have to move into watercolor if they choose not to. Some students are a little intimidated by watercolor, but they can subsidize the watercolor by going back and reusing either the graphite, the charcoal, or the color pencils. Either one's works fine with us. We also offer art and design. Art and design is exactly what it is. It is the foundations of all art and design. We use every single thing. In art and design, they learn how to do printmaking. They learn the basics of design. We do a 3D project. We do a graphic design. So we do everything in art and design. We have a class, it's called printmaking. And I apologize ahead of time, parents, if your kids come home with ink all over their clothes, is because they chose not to wear an apron. We do have aprons to protect their clothes in printmaking, and it is a very, very messy class. All my students absolutely love it. They love getting messy. I don't know why, but they seem to really like the idea that they are allowed to get messy, even though it's encouraged in that class that everything has to be clean. Their tables have to be clean. When they are printing, it has to be clean. Their hands have to be clean. So even though it sounds really messy, most of my students are washing their hands between every single print just so their hands and their paper maintains at a clean level. Our newer class that started this past year is graphic design and technology. We started that class because we found a lot of our students don't know how to utilize a lot of the machines in the makerspace. They've never worked on the CNC machine. They've never worked on a 3D printer. They never worked on the laser cutter or the 3D drawing tools. So that's where that class started, is we worked with Into to design projects that would incorporate the technology we have in the makerspace. We have so much technology that these students have opportunity to learn, and that's what they learn in that class. not only are they learning the basics of graphic design, but they're learning about all the technology and how to use it. Next slide, please. So 7 different course offerings. We do have open studio time at least once a week. I am there until 7:30 at night. So open studio starts after school and it goes into the evening. We do have 3 computer labs that students actually have full access to. There is a very small one in the art room, which only has 5 computers currently right now. We have a fine arts computer lab that is over by the math study area. There are 20 computers in there that our students are allowed to access. However, they're not allowed in there as long as there's no one in there. We can't allow them just to be in the lab. And currently, because of COVID, I really hate to say because of COVID, because I'm tired of hearing that, but because of COVID, we can only allow 10 students in the computer lab at one time. So we actually share the classroom next door and we work between the 2. That way students are still allowed to use that lab. And the classroom time is split between the 2 sections. So I'll divide my class into a section A, a section B. And if we're going to be in the lab for 2 solid days, one day section A will be in there and the other half of the class will be in the classroom next door, and then we'll swap out. So that way we're at least able to still utilize that lab. We also have a full lab in the library. In our library, the lab is both Mac and PC based, so students can learn on both computers. We do work with the science department, especially on the model making, because I do know in the sciences, one of the classes, they have to build a heart. So that's where the 3D design class came in, is they're allowed to use those materials and they get to learn how to use the materials. So when they are asked to make a model in science, they now have access to materials and they all know how to use them. We also work on researching the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. A lot of the classes, the art and design class and the graphic design class, they both actually create PSA or public service announcement posters for display. And those posters are on display outside of the auditorium, along the wall, along into. We basically do it as a poster contest. So we print all the posters in the school. They are usually print 19 by 13. They are hung in the library and all the students and faculty and staff get to vote for their top ones. The top ones get printed on the large format printer we have in the library, and they get posterized and to that degree. So they're like 24 by 36 and they're hanging in the hallway. So that's really kind of exciting for us to be able to see student works, and it gives the students a little bit of competition to work for. And if we have a lot that are winners, we'll actually go ahead and we'll switch the posters out throughout the semester. Using and experimenting with the technology in the makerspace, we do that as a class. We'll go in, and I don't know if anyone knows Grant Bell, he runs the makerspace. He trains my students while we're all together on the equipment that he has. And then it's up to the students to work with Grant outside of class to get their projects rolling, just like you would do homework, only they're learning the equipment. I have several students, after learning the equipment, are actually now dedicating some service hours to Makerspace because they fell in love with working with the equipment. And it is really interesting to work with. We also have a CNC machine that's a larger scale in the Granger lab. We have not yet worked there, but that's our next plan, is to be able to work in there, because right now Granger lab is on minimal hours and it does not coincide with my classes. But we're going to go ahead and figure that one out, and we will get that up and rolling probably this coming semester. We do run clinics where I have guest artists that come in and speak to our students. Right now with COVID going on, once again, COVID going on, they are not coming to campus at this point. They are coming in on Zoom, however. And currently the most exciting thing that we're doing is we actually are working with another high school in Milan, Italy. Now it's kind of odd because they're 7 hours ahead of us, so we really can't sit in each other's classrooms like we would like to, but we work with them doing the scientific illustration and how it works. Like, we share ideas, we share PowerPoints, we share projects. We are now working with them in observational drawing. So once again, we're sharing back and forth. I'm hoping by the end of this semester, between observational drawing and a little bit with the scientific drawing, that we'll actually be able to produce some form of magazine that will be done in both English and in Italian. And both schools will be able to benefit from it. So those are some of the bigger things that we're doing. Next slide, please. So exhibitions and competitions. We have several different exhibition opportunities. Our one right now, and you can actually go onto our digital commons and see our students' works that are up there. Those are for exemplimentary, I'm sorry, I'm kind of works, and we actually create e-portfolios for our students in digital commons. So that doesn't just include fine arts, that includes everything. It can be visual arts, it can be music, it could be wonderful things that they have done in math and science and literature and history. So we are creating e-portfolios for our students, which looks really good when they go to college and they put it on their college app. Those e-portfolios and all the visual arts and all the works that we put for students into digital commons, our students maintain their own copyright. I just had a student who loved doing home chemistry. So he finished a whole video on how to do some home chemistry, and that will be shared. And we are hoping that it's also going to be shared with some of the schools that don't have access to a lot of supplies or items or resources. So we're going to be doing a few more of those with a couple different students, and we're going to be working on editing those videos, and that will be posted in digital commons with the permission of the student and their parents. We exhibit in the IMSA library. We have a whole gallery there. If you've never been there, it's up on the when you first walk into the door of the library. There's a whole section that is meant for a gallery for our students. We work with the city of Aurora, and we will be exhibiting this year in the Winter Story. We also exhibit at the University of St. Francis, and that's a huge exhibition that is closing next week. The competitions that we are in the Illinois High School Art Competition and the Scholarship Awards. That's where you get scholarships. And then, yes, the scholarships are for the University of St. Francis. That's where the main competition is. This year, we had 4 students that had won honorable mention. So each one of those students will be getting a cash prize for like a gift card to buy more art supplies. They also get a ribbon. Their winning entries will be framed, and they're going to be distributed back to them once I pick them up at the end of the show. We also are involved in the Scholastic Art Competition. That one's huge. This year we have 4 students. Between the 4 students, we have 9 entries that went and won. Well, we have more than 9 entries that went, but 4 students have won either a gold key, a silver key, or an honorable mention. So we have 9 from those 4 students that have placed. One of the students actually placed and has been she's part of the top 5 of our region, which is all of Northern Illinois. And her top 5 has been voted to be a nominee for the American Visions Award. And hopefully we'll see where she goes from that. Only 5 from each region get nominated. And then out of each region, they'll go ahead and select the top ones for that award. And that award is about, I think they pick about 100 students, and this is nationwide. Last year, we had 1 student who actually won Gold Key, which is one of the top awards in the nation. He got Gold Key. There was 3,000 Gold Keys given out of over 300,000 entries. So we were really super excited about that. And he did get his medal. We went ahead and framed it, and we did a little presentation at school for him. And then we also do the Congressional Art Competition. Now, Congressional Art Competition is literally through your congressman's office. So students are allowed to submit their work through the congressman's office. Normally, if they live within either an hour of school or an hour of where I'm at, which is down south, I will actually drive their works to their congressman's office. Anyone like, I do apologize, Springfield and beyond. It's a little bit far for me to drive and deliver work to a congressman's office down that way. but we do our very best to get their works into their own congressman's office. The nice thing about the congressional one is the top 3 from every single office gets on display for a whole entire year at that congressman's office. The top prize through that congressman goes down to Washington, D.C. and is on display at the Capitol building for a whole entire year. So we do some pretty major competitions. A lot of the nice ones is even in the Scholastic one, in the Illinois art competition, they do get scholarships. And like I said, the Illinois high school art competition, the top award is a $10,000 scholarship. And yes, it is for the University of St. Francis. And I always tell my students, you know, no matter what you get from them, you can, even if you take an online English class from them, that's one college credit course that you no longer have to take. I currently have one student who actually got that top award, and they are now there full-time on a full ride for art and web design. Next slide, please. So the perks and social events that we actually have is, the biggest perk we have is that 20-seat fine arts computer lab. We absolutely love it there. All our students have full access to Adobe Creative Cloud. I don't know how many parents knew that, but they can access it through their IMSA site. We also offer them e-portfolios. That is huge when they're going to college, no matter what college they go to, no matter what field they're studying in. Like I said before, it's not just the visual arts that are in there. It's not just the music that's in there. It's everything that they have done that is on that level that colleges are looking for. So students can create their own. They can work with the library on it. They can work with me on it. We have absolutely no problems helping them develop their e-portfolios. We also have the Illinois High School Best of Creative Writing and Art, that our works, our student works, get published with the DePaul University. Every year, DePaul is asking us, what do we have that they can publish within that magazine? And every single year, we have at least 30 students that could publish with the DePaul University. We have a club, it's called Heliotrope. They produce their own magazine, and they do a lot of the art events around school. The other thing that we do in the visual arts department, we are part of that yearbook team. I know you guys all love to hear about yearbook, right? And I am going to be really honest right now. I do know our senior portraits have gotten pushed back to February 7th through the 11th. And parents, please know that I will not allow seniors to have their ID pictures in the yearbook. We're going to have their wonderful, very specific, beautiful senior portraits that Life Touch takes. Next slide, please. So we do a lot of collaboration, and I'm going to let Ms. McCarthy take this one over.
Hi again, everyone. We do collaborative concerts, as I discussed a little bit at the beginning. And Miss Ammoniak is so kind. She and her students just dig right in, and they love to help us out. So we do the theme stage decorations, kind of like building a set. And she helps with instrumental music, choral music. We developed slideshows. Some of you that came to the Holiday Around the World concert, Sleigh Ride Around the World concert, saw that we had a different slide for every single song, and we had the tradition represented from the country on that slide. We also compose concert programs together. The art department develops the cover for those programs, and we, of course, do the guts of the program. And we always do fundraising for a cause. At least once a year, we try to help out a worthy cause, and we try to make it a local cause so that we know that our money is going somewhere to help. And this year we did Toys for Tots, and we actually had military personnel come in and help us with that. So we're very grateful, and they said that we helped them out a lot. So we were very excited about that. And we have one other festival that we haven't spoken about, because it's a festival that we created for IMSA. And that festival is going to be held on March 2nd. And we hope that we will be able to stream it. Sadly, that part of the tech is not really up to us, but we hope that we'll be able to stream it home to all of you. And it's a juried solo ensemble recital. And it serves as two big points. It serves as one, to kind of show off the arts at IMSA, and we invite faculty, staff, and parents. And it also is kind of a dress rehearsal for the students that have chosen to go to the solo ensemble contest, which is always the following Saturday. There'll be a juried solo ensemble recital. So as the students are performing, Ms. Barnhill and I will be writing out a rating sheet so that they can get any last minute suggestions for their solo ensemble contest performances. And Ms. Simoniak fills the room, we usually do it in the academic pit, fills the room with wonderful art pieces that have already been juried. And in some cases, she adds additional art pieces and juries them right there. And then afterwards, and we're not sure about this year, we think we probably will not be able to do a reception, but we're looking into maybe some prepackaged items that we might be able to serve afterwards. But as I said, we just really feel it's important in the arts, especially at a residential school, to be able to celebrate with our students after they perform or after they show off their artwork. It's a very important component of the arts to be able to celebrate those performances. Next slide, please. Or Ms. Moniak, do you have something to add?
No, you got it.
Okay. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us right now. Probably email is the best way. And our emails are listed there for you. And we're not sure if anyone has questions, but we'll be happy to answer those.
Thank you so much, Mary Beth, Maria, and Joyce. There's a great presentation. It's great to hear about all the things that are offered to IMSA students through the Fine Arts Department. Does anyone have any questions they want to ask now? I'm not seeing any. In the interest of time, they were kind enough to share their email addresses right here on the screen. So if you do have any questions, you will be able to access these slides later as well, so that you can always make sure to send them any questions you do have. Thank you again so much for taking your time this Saturday, Mary Beth, Maria, and Joyce, to share with us about the Fine Arts Department at IMSA.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us, both for our meeting and for our speaker series today. I hope you had learned a lot and got some good information here, and we appreciate you taking your time with us. And with that, we will end our meeting.